5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Smells like one of Van Houten.
Oh, mercy.
Welcome to the Season 1 finale of Sacrilicious with Robin and Snurts, a Simpsons review podcast. I'm your lovable nerd Snurts, a.k.a. Joshua Stearns, and joining me is the equally delightful Robin. Don't have a cow, coward!
Hey, Josh. How you doing, man?
I am doing great. Season 1 fun. I've been looking forward to
Amazing.
this for a while. We've been talking about doing this particular episode for a while.
Yes.
And it's finally here. So
Yes.
that's satisfying. How are you?
Doing great. It's springtime here in Atlanta. I think we're actually about to get hit with a big storm, but weather's been great, and flowers starting to bloom. It's beautiful.
Very good, very good. Well, if this is your first episode, here's how it works. One of us will pick an episode of The Simpsons to discuss. We go through the plot, provide questionable impressions, and point out our favorite bits. So usually one of us will pick, but because this is a season finale, we're going we picked. So our pick was from season 6, episode 25, Who Shot Mr. Burns, part 1, directed by Jeffrey Lynch, written by Bill Oakley and Josh Weinstein, with a first air date of 5/21/1995. That means in May of this year, it will be 30 years anniversary.
This is the end of season 6, which could be the best season of The Simpsons of all time.
It's definitely one of my favorites.
Absolutely at the top of their game.
Yeah, and this is also, was a big deal growing up because of the competition that we'll get into more details later. Mm-hmm. And they really advertised the hell out of this.
Yeah.
They wanted to have a big, ending to season 6 with a bunch of hype going into season 7. And frankly, I think they pulled it off pretty damn good. So did you remember watching this episode when it originally aired?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Look, I mean, I was a senior in high school. We loved it. I mean, it was something to talk about at school with your friends that everybody watched. And it was fantastic.
Yeah, I was a little bit younger because I would have been, 13? So we're probably talking 7th grade there. Mm-hmm. But I remember my godmother, Grace, pointing this out, and a couple of the adults that were in my life that enjoyed The Simpsons were like, no, this is a big deal. Make sure you see it and stuff like that. Yeah. It was also at the time, I think, when we finally had 2 TVs. So it was possible to see the new episodes of The Simpsons on Sundays without disrupting my mother's viewing habits.
Absolutely. I think the thing is the cross nature of the Simpsons audience at the time, even as cynical seniors going to college teens, we were like, oh, this is great. It was a phenomenon.
Well, let's get into it because this is going to be a huge behind the wiki segment. Wiki.
Oh, wiki.
So, people, if you're nerds like us, know that they do these writer retreats back in the day. I don't know if they still do them for the show, but they would go some remote location with the entire writing staff and kind of have a brainstorming session. And cool. Matt Groening came up with the idea that they wanted to do basically a publicity stunt that mirrored JR, Who Shot JR. Mm-hmm. And so he passed that idea on to Bill Oakley and Josh Weinstein, who were the writers and one of the main drivers of this episode, along with David Merkin, who was, I think, the showrunner at the time. So they kind of had this whole idea already planned out that there was going to be a 2-parter, that there was going to be, Who Shot Mr. Burns type of thing. And then they just started to flesh it out. And man, they really put in their homework time, man, to come up with this mystery, for everyone to solve. Because
fleshed out, I mean, the whole thing happens over 40 minutes, 2 episodes, 40 minutes.
Yeah, and even though we're doing part 1 today, this behind the wiki will kind of blend the 2 together because it's very hard to make a distinct to separate those.
It informs the first, having seen
Yeah, so we'll try to hold some of the stuff for maybe the next time,
Definitely.
but we're gonna go through a lot here. So, do you know who Bill and Josh wanted to be the culprit, the one who shot Mr. Burns initially?
Barney. Was it Barney you're thinking
Yes,
of?
that is correct. Ding, ding, ding,
Yeah.
ding. Points to Robin.
Woohoo!
Yeah, Barney Gumble, they wanted to get rid of him because they were tired of doing the drunk jokes. They feel like he
Yeah.
goes like, that's why they made him sober years
Yeah.
later, because they were just kind of tired of Barney. He's always there. He could go to jail and it wouldn't really affect anything. You would just have one less barfly at
What they said
most.
is that you can bring him back then at any point.
Correct.
If you figure out it was a mistake, you can bring him back because he's just in
Yeah.
jail.
I mean, he could have like done like a breakout with Sideshow Bob or something like that if they wanted to, and they make it
Yeah.
a big event as well. Guess who's coming back? Barney. Hi, everybody. So this was super secret. Only Archer, the director of part 2, he didn't know the ending because the table read stopped at Act 3. So basically, everybody just
Yeah.
shut their books. They all walked away. Only a
Yeah.
few people knew, like Merkin, Bill Oakley, Josh Weinstein, and David Silverman, who was the animator, knew
Yep.
who the culprit was. So they would really kind of keep this hush hush. When it was time to animate the endings for the show, Silverman and Archer waited until the end of summer of 1995 to work on it. But realizing they needed more help with layouts, they had various animators come in and do small parts to work on it without telling them who the actual culprit was.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a little bit too big of a job for this like a couple animators to get through. But they would be like, oh, hey, maybe you do the part where Burns is like dancing on the light pole or whatever, and you still don't know who the actual
So
shooter
Josh,
is.
what strikes me is, and then again, then now I'm already referring to having the whole picture again, but I promise. Sorry. Oh yeah, it seems like a lot for in the end. They didn't really have the kind of weight to back that up a bit, like how secret they were. Like in the end, the prize. If I'm giving away too much, so we can delete it. But of the spot on the show
Yes,
was not
yeah,
really weighty enough because Fox wouldn't get behind it and really put like $1 million prize or something like that.
right. Well, that's why
Instead,
they
they
ended up
did
going
half.
with 1-800-COLLECT instead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like to protect it with that much secrecy seems a bit excessive.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, it could be, but it's also kind of neat because to me, I love like
Oh
when you can
yeah,
keep secrets. Like,
they
Baby Yoda was
put
like a
so
huge
much effort
surprise,
into
right?
this. I mean,
Yeah.
extraordinary effort into this.
Due to the amount of interest in the endings, David Merkin wrote several terrible endings, and him and Harry Shearer recorded several alternative endings because Harry Shearer was Burns, he was Smithers, so they could like have very various different like fake outs, so to speak. And a lot of those would end up showing up in the episode, The Simpsons 138th episode, Spectacular. So I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you remember in that one, they were like, and here's all the other people. And it just shows like Apu and Tito and like Smithers and everybody else shooting Mr. Burns, which was pretty funny in there. I
Where would that
also,
clip with Kent Brockman came from? There was one where they had an episode where they showed Kent Brockman showing all of the different shooters as well.
yeah,
It's something I
possibly.
caught on YouTube. I don't know. I wonder if that was the same thing.
I see. Yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah, they definitely bring it back for the clip show that they have, which was pretty funny.
Sunday, Mr. Burns is shot.
Everyone's a suspect.
See if you can solve the mystery
I didn't do it.
on the Simpsons season finale Sunday.
All right. So, in the months following up from the broadcast of part 1, Fox offered a contest to tie in with the mystery where callers who dialed 1-800-COLLECT were eligible and they could guess who the culprit was. It was also one of the first contests to tie together elements of television and the internet. Fox launched a new website, Springfield.com, devoted to the mystery that got over 500,000 hits during the summer of 95. And the winner of the contest could be animated on the show, as you mentioned earlier. Unfortunately, I got this mixed up because I thought it was the competition where the winner was going to get the
The
Simpsons house.
Yep.
That is an unrelated contest from
Yep.
1997 that was ran by Pepsi.
Okay.
The 1-800-COLLECT contest, though, was a farce. Thousands of people called in, but it was really weird because you had to be calling somebody watching the broadcast, and they had to receive the call during the broadcast for you to submit an entry for the competition.
I mean, that's manipulation right there.
Yeah.
Like that's bold.
And the contest had thousands and thousands of people, but they only pulled from a hat of 200. And ultimately, nobody had the right answer, and somebody was just chosen at random, and the winner didn't even watch the show and opted for the cash prize in lieu of being animated in a later episode.
I love this. I love that. Nobody got it, and they just picked a random person. They were like, "Hey, we're gonna put you on an episode," and they were like, "Nah."
And folks, if you're interested in hearing about this or doing your own deep dive, you can listen to the DVD commentary because Bill goes into this as well. Also, there is a great former Simpsons podcast called Round Springfield with Allie Gertz and Julia Prescott. And these ladies were able to get some great interviews, including Bill Oakley, who also describes how the competition was crap. And that he also confirms that Who Shot Mr. Burns Part 1 is his favorite episode that he worked on. So that's fun right there. All right. And we're not done. You think we're done. We have the contest. We have all this background info. No, folks. We get Springfield's Most Wanted was a TV special hosted by John Walsh, which was the host of
It's
America's
amazing.
Most Wanted, right?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say about the ads for the competition. Is they do these 1-800-collect ads for the competition, and it's so 90s. It's just
Absolutely.
it screams that time, and it's very nostalgic. And then America's Most Wanted pops up, and I hadn't seen it until today. I stumbled upon it, and I did not know it existed. Although I may have watched it back then. I mean, we watched it
Yeah.
every Sunday,
Yeah.
but I didn't remember it, and it's unbelievable. Like, it's so specific to that time. They're bringing references from all the Fox shows at that time. It's crazy.
Sure. Yeah, I don't remember seeing it, but it also could be something where I did, and I was just a kid, and I don't remember. So when I didn't get any kind of like memory triggers when I was reading about it, so I think I missed it.
I didn't like that show, so
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't
Yeah, so the
excited to
special
watch it.
aired on September 17th, 1995, right before part 2 of Who Shot Mr. Burns. And it was definitely a parody of the main TV show. And this there was special was designed to help people find out who shot Mr. Burns by laying out the potential clues and identifying the possible suspects. Speaking of clues,
They do this whole rigmarole where they like bring on the like ex mayor, no, the ex head actual chief of police in
Yeah.
Los Angeles on that.
Oh,
They're like,
really?
and he starts talking about who he thinks did it.
Oh,
It's
wow. That's hilarious.
it's amazing. They had this whole section where they go to this guy in Vegas and they're talking about odds of like who's gonna win and show the whole board. It's crazy. Homer was the lead at 5-2, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting. I also love how Vegas, of course, would have some kind of betting odds for this mystery. I'm telling
Maggie
you,
was on the list.
the magical summer of
Even the
1995.
baby was on the list. I think Santos El Helper is on the list. I think
Yeah.
the entire town is literally on there.
All right. So if folks are interested in the clues, I found them interesting, and we're just going to list through them right now. I did a summary of what's on the Wikipedia, which goes into much, much greater detail. But here's what you should be watching for if you're trying to solve the mystery and you don't already know the baby did it. Burns doesn't have his gun when he falls on the sundial at the end, and he points to W and S. W and S can be flipped upside down and be M and S as well. So the culprits with names with MS and WS are your like prime suspects here.
Mm-hmm.
Also, many of these characters got full names for the first time because of this episode.
Like Sislak, man. That's
Yes.
This is the birth of Sislak. That's a great last name. I assumed
Yes.
it's been there forever.
Nope. Not until
crazy.
the end of season 6.
Crazy.
Yeah, and we also have oh god, what is
Skinner.
his name? W. Seymour Skinner.
Yeah,
And then they just
randomly did to make it fit.
Yeah, and they never reference W again. Like never, ever, ever have I heard it come up. Like we don't even know what the W stands for.
It's clever in an ironic way, I guess.
Yeah, and then there's even stuff like the Simpsons mutt, S&M. Because that is what Mr. Burns calls the Simpsons dog, is the Simpsons mutt. So
I didn't pick up on that one.
Yep. And there is also Grandpa's gun is a Smith & Wesson. Clocks throughout the episode are either at 3 or 9 o'clock, which matches the pose of the sundial. We have a TV on at Moe's that it says "Pardon My Zinger" starts at 3 p.m. Maggie stares down Mr. Burns while everyone else is looking away when they have the confrontation at the town hall. Only Maggie is like dead to rights, like, I'm gonna fuck you up.
Yeah, once I saw that, it's a great image.
It's a very
Once
great
I
image.
heard that
Yeah.
somebody mention it, like it's a great image.
Stealing candy from a baby was referenced earlier, so it's almost like Chekhov's crime.
Yep.
Maggie is the first family member revealed when Burns and Smithers are eating the candy. So, final thing. Thanks for bearing with me, folks. This is the first 2-part episode of 5 that exist in The Simpsons. The second one, however, did not occur until season 28. So I think you and I...
we thought this was the only 2-parter that they had in the entire series.
Yeah, so I guess I was wrong. And then I did a little digging, and one of those 2-parters is the lowest rated episode of them all. Yeah, not looking forward to doing that one.
Yeah, we might have to, though.
We might. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into it. The mystery begins with a chalkboard gag. This is a clue, or is it?
That's literally what it says. This is not a clue, or is it? And it's so upfront with what they're about to do with this episode. They don't shy away from it.
But they don't do a clue with the couch gag. So like my mind was already triggered. I'm like, okay, there's no clue for the chalkboard gag, but maybe there's a clue for the
couch gag seemed out of place. Agreed.
It was fine. Hanna-Barbera.
It was like the Hanna-Barbera where the repeated background goes behind them. Yeah.
Yeah, and the classic like the noise effects of people running, right? It almost sounds like a light drum or something like that.
Yeah.
Then
like
the episode begins with a beautifully lit shot of Skinner entering the school. Of course, there's a foul stench that is mucking up his because he's just kind of like school time, like this is the greatest. And then he's like, oh,
so intoxicating is the school hallway in early morn. He's being waxing poetic.
I also love how he smells himself, and he's just like, nope.
You're like, clean as he mentions like a water basin or something.
It was so weird. Yeah, Skinner is such a stiff. But we find out that the 4th grade class hamster, Super Dude, died. And I love how Skinner goes like, poor little fella crushed by his own water bottle.
It's triggering if you've ever smelled a dead rodent before. It's awful.
Yeah, I also love how they pick the name Super Dude. I think that's a very good,
it's classic.
Like, because the kids...
Bart definitely led that brigade,
Well, you probably went for like fart machine or something like that, but they probably told him no. So, of course, Skinner doesn't bury the little guy himself. He gets Willie to do it. And while Willie is digging a funeral, a little ditch, like he has a comment about like, oh, you're lucky you're getting a decent funeral. My father was thrown in a bog.
Thrown in the bog. Now, that's another English colloquialism for toilet. So like it could be worse than like a literal bog where his body is now preserved for all time.
I would assume it's like a bog, not a toilet, but
agreed.
It's okay. We also got the 4th graders.
Josh, it was layered.
Layers, like an onion. So I also love how the 4th graders, this is just classic. Like they're all like, oh, what smells, right? And then Nelson goes,
it's classic. They capture it so well.
Yeah, he's like, it smells like one of Van Houten's.
And he's like, no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's classic boys. Yeah, like that was a common theme growing up.
And then we get a fun animated segment of oil bursting through the school floors, eventually erupting out of the roof. Poor Ralph gets the worst of it. This is Hoover.
Somebody was talking on one of the things that I watched on YouTube about the Force and how it probably would have killed Ralph, and they never mention it.
I mean, he would have been flying. They just would have been woo.
Once you hear that, it was hard to see. It's violent. Like he goes flying. But you know what? He probably had fun. He was like, wee. That's our Ralph.
What you don't see is that he landed on like a tarp or like the roof, an overhang roof, and he just bounced off. And he's like, I was a bird.
I feel all sticky.
So do you remember this FedEx ad that we have? Because we cut to the plant and Mr. Burns is running a meeting, and they, according to the commentary, they just ripped this straight off of a FedEx ad campaign.
It's old ad that FedEx did that was very memorable. I didn't remember it until I read about this, and then I made the connection, but it was basically you showed packages at FedEx going through, and it'd all be people going, "This is going to Toronto, 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 Toronto," and they would like walk around, talk very, very fast,
And for this one, they use a lot of alliterations too. They're like
yeah.
private package going to Pennsylvania for the Pacific, so there's a lot of
It
P's.
was one point, yeah. He says, forget print AS for a highly pressing package of power plant profit projections for Pete Porter in Pasadena. Priority? Precisely.
Quite I say.
And it absolutely positively has to be there overnight.
Pete Porter, pass it on.
Pasadena, promptly.
Package for parcel processing, pronto.
Forgot print gas for highly pressing package of power plant profit projections for Pete Porter in Pasadena.
Priority.
Precisely.
Of course, Homer is the last person to get it, and he runs immediately into Burns' office. And Burns is like, "That is the return address, you nincompoop." And of course, like Burns is like, "Who is this numbskull?" And we have a thought of Homer. He's like, "I've worked here for 10 years, and my boss doesn't even know my name." Well, that's going to change now.
We've seen him and them together
all the time. And so Homer, like, he's like, "No, I'm going to make sure he remembers my name right now." And Burns pushes a red button, but instead of getting a tube, we get a 1,000 gram weight.
It's like an anvil.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just kind of tiny little think.
Sounded large when I ordered it, which I can relate to because I just bought a pan and I thought it was going to be the same size pan of the one that I needed to replace. And it is like a third bigger and it doesn't even really fit my kitchen. Like, I can't have it. It almost takes on 2 stove tops. Like, it's ridiculous. I love it. It's a great pan, but I was still like, oh, that's not what I was thinking. So I had this very relatable moment with the
metric
Burnsy
booby
there.
traps, Josh.
Oh yeah,
that's what it is. That's what he says. He's like, these metric booby traps.
So next we're back at the school, and we have Chalmers coming up to the rooftop to confront Skinner. And I love Chalmers and Skinner. It's so great. Why is it when I heard the word school and the word exploded, I immediately thought of the word Skinner?
Look at he's like, Superintendent Chalmers, how are you going? He's just very nervous.
And then Skinner is saved by the oil construction guy. He's like drenched in oil. Like the only thing that's not covered is like where his goggles were, right? And he's like, "Guess what, gentlemen? You struck it rich." So that makes everybody happy. And he also
school in the state.
He also found Super Dude. And Skinner, instead of burying him again, just kind of hucks him off screen.
He just like hucks him off. It's hilarious. He's just like, Super Dude, because he just gave this all to him. He's like,
yeah, I want to dedicate to this you, Super Dude. Off you go.
it's kind of, it's a bit gross.
I wonder if there was like somebody like walking by and they're like, "Oh," you get hit with it.
With an oily fucking rat. Oh,
that would suck. All right, so we go to the executive spa where physical fitness for better tyranny. Great sign. Love those signs. And of course, we get the classic, like Smithers and Burns are, quote, exercising, which means Burns is not and Smithers is doing all the work.
It's like a double bicycle, except that there's no like pedals in the back, and it's just Burns like with his feet like propped up, and Smithers is like going after it in the front on the bike and just sweating his butt off.
Yeah, and I like how Burns is complaining about the school oil boon, and exhausted Smithers, like, is just kind of like, okay, have we done enough exercise for today, Mr. Burns? He's like, how about another 20 miles? And then he proceeds to walk into the other room to play some pinball, which I thought was funny.
20 miles?
Yeah, that's a lot.
Mm-mm.
So I also love how they do a really good job keeping the animation consistency going, because they have like an exhausted Smithers walks with Burns into an elevator, and he runs into a bunch of power plant people, including Homer. And what does Mr. Burns do? Says hi.
He names everybody in the elevator. He goes around. He's like, "Oh, hey, how's your leg?" And so Homer, he's like, "And other fellow."
And Homer is wearing a helmet that says H. Simpson on it, and he has a giant name tag that says, "My name is Homer Simpson."
It's like, I can't remember.
I also love how one of the guys is in a hazmat suit, and then he takes it off and he's like, "Don't worry, we actually got 2 of my kids mixed up." And I forget the names, but it was like Rolando and Rolanda or something like that. Like, it was so very similar.
And Rolando.
yeah, it was very similar names there. Of course, like, this doesn't really cheer him up, and he's still kind of pissy about it. Then we get, Oh man,
Yeah.
we're here we go. A classic Skinner Chalmers bit that is very reminiscent of the steamed hams routine.
Phenomenal, one of the great scenes. All of
So
Simpson history.
do you want to take Skinner or Chalmers?
I'll do Chalmers.
Okay. Superintendent, we made the front page today. I hold up the paper covering one of the upper end words.
What's that say under your hand there?
Oh, it's an unrelated article.
It's an unrelated article
Uh-huh.
within the banner headline.
Now, to redirect our conversation slightly. I love it. I just like, because like Chalmers is one of the only semi-reasonable, sane person in Springfield. You know what I mean? And that's what makes it so brilliant, because he's just surrounded by all these
He's
like
the straight
idiotic
man.
characters, and he just plays the straight man so well. And
It's
I always love it.
It's an unrelated article within the banner headlines.
Yeah.
Yes. Can I see it?
No. I also love how Chalmers jokes. He's like, well, we could give all the children full college scholarships. And they both start laughing.
It's terrible.
And then I love how Skinner at the end goes, oh, mercy.
Oh, mercy.
All right. So we get a series request from the students. Willie wants a crystal slop bucket and a new blanket. Lunch Lady Doris.
A filthy blanket.
Yeah, that's right. Blanket. Right. Lunch Lady Doris wants a new staff who won't complain about mice. Lisa wants a jazz program taught by Tito Puente. Ralph wants chocolate microscopes.
Puente. I'd like to start a jazz program for the music department. We've got a really great instructor lined up.
Tito Puente.
Otto wants a double guitar. Skinner needs more approval stamps with all this approval stamping going on. Yeah, do you know why they got Tito Puente in as the guest star for this?
No, why?
Because Matt Groening loves jazz.
Hell yeah.
And so the writers were like, well, let's just throw a bone to Matt and get some jazz person on there.
Hell yeah.
And they didn't know that he was a drummer and not a singer, which is why in the second episode, they don't have him singing. They get someone else for it. But it was kind of funny. He's like, oh, he only plays drums? Oh, okay, we'll get someone else to sing it then.
Yeah, but the music is fire that he plays in this episode. I wonder if he actually played it. They just like pulled something. I mean, like,
I would hope that if they're bringing him in here,
yeah,
I mean, just bring the bongos into the recording booth, right?
That would be. It sounds great. The music.
Yeah.
They do.
All right, so we also get basically a very weird bit. So we hear Smithers going on, sir, this is your secretary, and you have someone,
it's like the
waiting
end
for
of the
you.
day. Skinner's at his desk,
and he goes like, that's strange. I don't have a secretary, nor do I have an intercom.
But send them in.
And in works Mr. Burns dressed as Jimbo Jones. And he does like this,
trying to be like a kid, like a
right,
teenager.
but he's still using old phrases from like
rap with Mr. Skinner.
Yeah, but I don't have like the actual dialogue right in front of me. He's like, my chums think it would be most smashing if you give that money to the wonderful Mr. Burns.
My fourth year chums think it would be quite corking if you'd sign over the oil well.
Quite corking.
Quite corking.
Awesome.
And then Skinner's like, Mr. Burns, like I know who you are, right? Like, you're famous.
You're the most prominent 104 man in Springfield. I also like how Mr. Burns is like, I've got a monopoly to maintain. I own the electric company and the waterworks, plus the hotel on Baltic Avenue. And then Skinner retorts, that hotel's a dump and your monopoly's pathetic.
Burn.
I also like how Burns is like, well, I have to use force now. And he's like flailing about.
Flailing about.
Yeah.
Like, slapping with him with the fingers lately.
He calls Smithers in for backup, who takes a stapler and like just tries to fling staples at him.
He comes in front of the stapler, just starts shooting staples at him. And,
but it doesn't even reach him. It just falls onto his briefcase.
Like
and
the ground.
Skinner is basically like stop wasting those. So we're at the dinner table and Bart is complaining that his idea was shot down. Everybody else got their dream with the money, but not him. And guess what his plan was? To bring back from the dead.
Lisa's like, it's unfeasible to resurrect the dead, Bart.
And he wants to bring back the Three Stooges.
It's a weird. This is where there's references that I don't know how many people these days know who the Stooges are anymore.
I mean, I just watched a very bad cartoon that has the Three Stooges animated, but they're robots. So like think Inspector Gadget meets Scooby-Doo type of thing.
That
And they go
sounds
out. It's
terrible and
so
wonderful.
awful. It is like one of the worst cartoons
Terrible
I've
and
seen.
awful.
Shout out to Knowing Is Half the Podcast for watching all those crappy cartoons and making fun of them. Good Lord. But yeah, Three Stooges is kind of on the way out. They make plenty of references, but I think in 95, people still knew who the Three
Yeah.
Stooges were. I also
Yeah,
like how
absolutely.
Lisa's like, why would they want to hang out with you? And Bart is actually like, oh yeah, they probably want to hang out with their family or something, huh? It's like just no argument,
Yeah.
just like, oh, you're right. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
think about
Oh
that.
yeah, that does make some
Yeah.
sense, Lisa.
Yeah, I just kind of like that because Bart could have been
Bart
like,
capitulating
he could have
is
been like a
rarely happens.
jerk.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Homer is complaining about Burns not remembering his
Yeah,
name. And
he's mad. He's sitting there
Marge
seething.
has a great idea. Do you want to say what that idea is?
She goes, I have an idea. What's your idea? He goes, when my father was trying to catch my mother's eye, he sent her a box of candy with his photo on the bottom. And Homer goes, that's all well and good, but it's not really your idea, is it, Marge?
Yeah, and then in my notes here I have, what a dick.
It's just
Like,
so. It's
that's
just
so
so out of
mean.
nowhere. It's just him like you're taking credit for something that's not yours, Marge. Like,
Yeah, good Lord.
wow.
So
the meanest he ever is to her.
We get our first of two balcony and binoculars bit. So we have Burns that famous balcony that he's fallen off twice,
At least in our journey.
And he pans over to the oil
One
rig.
time on fire.
Yeah, one time on fire. One time I think maybe it wasn't through the balcony; it was through the window with the polar bear.
But that counts.
Yes. So we have basically Burns has made a slant rig that's right next to Moe's and is going to be trying to tap the oil well before the school can.
Yeah, because they're both building at the same time. But
Correct.
Yeah, it is salacious. It is insidious.
Yes, and it's right next to Moe's, which comes into play later. And Smithers, we kind of see him for the first time not going along with what Mr. Burns is all about.
He's pushing back.
And he goes, sir, what am I about to say violates every sycophantic urge in my body, but I wish you would reconsider. This isn't a rival company you're battling with. It's a school. People won't stand for it. And then Burns is like full on cartoon supervillain at this point. He's just like, it'll be like stealing candy from a baby.
Baby, that's a lark.
Yeah, and he's like, "Ooh, there's one now."
By his own idea. He's like, "Oh, let's go steal some candy from a baby." That sounds great. It's like peak evil.
Yeah.
It's like peak Burns evil.
Yes, and the Smithers is like, "No, sir, look, there's a box of candy. Let's just eat this instead."
Mm-hmm.
And they proceed to eat the candy, and the first family member that is revealed is Maggie Simpson.
Oh, okay.
Message. I guess that's clue. Oh wait. No, I screwed all that up. We did Jinkies. We did
Jinkies.
That's it. Can't remember my own show.
That was the greatest bit. We should try and listen to that and see if we should.
Yeah.
Jinkies.
So they go all in on this box of chocolate, and it is kind of cute to see Smithers and Burns enjoying themselves. Like, that's little Maggie. Yes.
Because Homer's put the photo on the chocolate, did exactly what Marge said to do, and they're now like snacking on it. And as they unveil a character, he just starts talking about like, "Oh, that's she, and she had Bobo, and Bart was briefly my heir." As they kind of
and it's that Simpson mutt who was my dog guard for a while.
The dog, he even knows their dog like intimately, and the only one he doesn't know, unfortunately, is under, what did they call it?
It's like a sour quince log.
Oh God, that sounds terrible.
It sounds terrible, right? Like, just no. Like, there's always that one piece of chocolate in the box that's just crap. It's just like, why does this exist?
Like, those separate for whoever those weirdos are that like that.
Yeah, right. All right, so today is the big day for Springfield Elementary. Skinner is praising the funds that will support current and future students. I like how he takes a jab at Springfield High. He's just like, until they go to Springfield High.
Which has no oil well.
Yeah. And then somebody shouts out, he's like, we have an air hockey table. That's super. And so they have their best student throw the switch, which is Lisa.
Well, I like how he's like, and here's our top student, Lisa Simpson. And Nelson goes, nerd.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It was one of those little things that was really funny.
Lisa pulls the switch, but there's no pressure, and the construction guy comes in. He's basically like, There's no pressure. Someone else
They're
landed
freaking
top of the
out.
well.
Do we get a Tito? We goes, "Ay caramba!" So he does the perfect.
Awesome.
Of
And
course,
so then
famous
we
phrase.
see Burns, and Smithers is pissed. Like, he is frowning, his arms are
Yeah.
crossed, and
Yep.
we get Burns going, soon the mighty apparatus would burst forth with its precious fluid. Almost sexual, isn't it, Smithers? And Smithers doesn't even answer. He's just,
I mean, look, first off, it's weird.
yeah,
Second off, Smithers, as we've discussed, is a burn sexual. Like
right.
in normal circumstances, he would have been like,
Yeah, absolutely, sir.
oh, yes, sir. But he's that mad. He's that
Yeah.
mad, Josh. He's pissed.
Yeah, he's fallen. He's not Twitter pated anymore.
So the oil rig bursts forth.
Yes, we have rocketing Texas tea straight to Bart's treehouse. It is a well-animated bit where we see the entire treehouse get decimated.
It goes hard, dude.
Bart is walking, but obviously wounded and kind of messed up and shell-shocked over
he's
it. The
messed
dog
up, yeah.
is underneath broken pieces
tree's
of wood and
obliterated.
whimpering. Yeah, it was really well animated.
Yeah.
I was impressed with that.
Agreed.
So then we get the basically to go right to the animal hospital because Bart's okay. He just gets some bandages and whatever. And then when I get to I like the vet. He's like, we've updated his status to frisky or something like that. It was pretty cute.
That.
Yeah.
That's a great status. We've updated your status to frisky. And you know he's going to come out like...
Yeah. And because his back legs are broken, he has to be in the wheelabout and a cone of shame.
And it's a very pathetic sight.
Yes.
And this is where we get our next threat is Bart now goes, I'll get even with whoever did this to you, boy.
There you go.
Swear it.
Hello, Vengeance Hotline. How can I help you? Okay. You don't say. The whole oil claim. Well, that is evil. Yes, that's possible. No, not with that. So that's a deal breaker then. Sorry, that's a no-go. We only specialize in non-violent vengeance. Maybe reach out to Fat Tony. You're welcome. So long and good luck. Yeah. And Skinner, we're going to get more people pissed off because he's addressing the faculty and informing them that not only are we not going to get any of the cool stuff that they wanted, that because of the construction costs and the demolition fees, that they're going to be having drastic cuts to all non-essential classes. So basically, they cut music and maintenance. So we see Tito Fuente like punch his drum. They have the other music conductors like nuts. And Willie like rips open his shirt and he like ends with his rant with like,
so Burns. One of the times that we see his ripped ass chest, he just like with one hand just like rips half of his t-shirt off and he's just busting out. I'll kill that Mr. Burns.
I think we first saw that maybe when Bart falls down a well. And like Willie is just like, why didn't I think of that? Yeah. He takes off his shirt and he looks like just He-Man. Like it's amazing.
Yeah. What was the one where he gets lunch lady Doris to grease him down?
Oh yeah, he's like, woman, I need you to grease me up. Okie dokie. And he's like in a Speedo because he needs to go into the vents. Yeah. Good times. So at the house, Lisa is asking Homer how he can work for an evil man.
So real quick is first, she's on the phone with Tito Puente and they're talking shit about Mr. Burns. And she's like, that's awful. She's learning now that music is being cut. Mr. Puente, he owns the nuclear power plant, like telling him where he is. And she's like, yeah, I'd like to settle his hash too. So now we got two more suspects.
There you go. And Homer basically is like, look, he gave us a thank you card for the box of chocolates. And Lisa like actually reads the thing. And it's like, Dad, your name's not on here.
Marge, Bart, Lisa, and Maggie all get a nice note. And the dog, but he's not on there. And he's like, kids, can you leave the room?
And we get the loudest fuck that you have ever heard. But instead of hearing the word, an organ goes off, birds fly away. The whole town hears it. Flanders, they have like a couple quick cutaways that ends on Flanders with going, "Dear Lord, that's the loudest profanity I've ever heard."
So interesting about that is the organ they play over it is an F chord.
Ah, it's clever. They're too clever.
Picked up that
They
tidbit.
also had a deleted scene where Grandpa calls Homer and just goes, and you just hear Homer going, "Yeah, Dad, that was me." All right.
Son?
So we're at Moe's, and the effects of an oil rig next door are clear. There are
There's
fumes,
fumes
everywhere.
there's
Everyone's kind of like
smog in there.
oozing back and forth. And Barney goes, "These fumes not as fun as beer. Like, sure, I'm dizzy and nauseous, but where's the inflated sense of self-esteem?" And then,
I was like, hey, if you guys get loaded off the fumes, I'm gonna have to charge you.
I love it. And then we get people coming in hazmat gear, with gas masks on and whatnot. And I love this slide. It's like, "Man alive! There are men alive in here."
I'm
It's so good.
20 different toxins in the air.
But
Barney burps, and the machine goes crazy.
Yeah, that's so good. So they tell everybody that they have to shut down the bar because the pollution and the oil rig is there. And
They're
both
shutting down Moe's.
Both Moe and Barney grab their guns. Moe grabs a shotgun, and Barney has a Derringer. And I love how Barney's holding the gun. And he's like, now there's the inflated sense of self-esteem.
That's a dig in America. Right there. That's
so good.
I mean, so the big reveal. I mean, the big thing about this episode and that particular scene is that that's when we learn Moe's last name. That's the scene where you see the license in the back or whatever.
Correct. It says Moe Sislak.
And it says Moe Sislak. That's where
there's also a clue on the television show, because when they're taking a break from Mystery Science Theater 3000 on Comedy Central, you see that Pardon My Zinger is at 3 p.m.
I'm such a huge MST3K fan. I didn't.
Oh, me too. I love it.
When I read that tidbit, I was like, oh, I love that they like interacted like that.
They're all on YouTube, man. If they have a lot of stuff on YouTube for that, which is great.
I gave up Netflix, but find it elsewhere.
So the chaos continues as the oil drill generates an earthquake above the old folks' home. It splits in two. It's pretty funny. Like
it's violent.
Grandpa is woken up and he immediately goes into I guess the doorwell, right? And then it just splits in two, and you just see him violently fall to the ground off screen. And then they pan out, and you just start to hear nurse, 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 nurse.
Never laugh. We just made it sound so much worse than it is. It's comedic in the show.
Well, because it's slapstick. It's not like it's not.
It came across as
Nurse,
Nurse.
So we're back at the plant, and we're doing our second balcony and binoculars bit, but this time it's Smithers, and he's just showing how the school is screwed up, the retirement home, Moe's
local tavern,
and he basically sarcastically says "Oh, you must be happy with yourself, vanquishing all your enemies here." And while he's kind of chastising Burns sarcastically, the old man is trying to stuff fat stacks of cash into his wallet. And he's trying to fit 3 in there, but he can only seem to fit 2. And then surrounding him is piles and piles of cash and some giant, bags with the money sign on them.
He's trying to put it all in his wallet.
So Mr. Burns is making a shit ton of money from this oil well, in addition to the money that he already had with the power plant.
But he wants more.
So Burns brings up his greatest enemy ever, the sun.
The sun.
Which also reminds me of him taking
Giver
on
of life.
A big what was it? Big ocean? He was taking on big water. You mean the ocean? With the Persephone. So once again, Mr. Burns not liking nature, and he reveals a model of Springfield that comes out from the ground, and then the sun comes. The roof opens up so the sun can pour down. And a giant
phenomenal model of the
it looks town. Really cool. It's very James Bond villain.
They talked about it. It's a reference from Goldfinger.
Yes. And so Burns has a device, a giant circular device that comes out of Mount Springfield that will go with the sun's rotation and basically create perpetual darkness.
Which is that's a lot.
It's a lot,
to cut off the light from the earth. And Smithers says it outright. He's like, you would kill all of the trees.
Right. There'd be incessant hooting all night long from owls. And this is the final straw. He's like, no, like
Yep.
Monty, like come back from the brink of madness. And he's like, I'll do no such thing. And so basically, because he's being insubordinate, Burns fires Smithers.
Yep. Smithers. I mean, it's amazing. That's a
Yeah.
big moment.
It's huge. It's very big.
Smithers stood up to him.
And then Burns does like a little Godzilla time with the models, and he's like, "Take that, Bullerama!" And then he eventually
crushing them.
Yeah,
Take that,
and then
convenient mark.
and he's
Take
like,
that nuclear power plant.
"Whoa, fiddlesticks!"
Oh. Whoops. It's great. It's great.
All right, so at the breakfast table of the Simpsons home, we got a newspaper headline that basically says Mr. Burns is trying to blot out the sun, and we're going to have a town hall about it later today.
Yep.
And everyone's complaining. Marge, Bart, Lisa, they're all like, this is awful. And Bart kind of goes, it's like, hey, Dad, what do you think? And then it's like he pulls down the newspaper and it's actually Grandpa. And then the kids scream.
They'll scream.
Yeah. And Lisa's like, sorry, Grandpa. You know, I just for a second there, it looked like Dad had melted.
It's so good. Oh, it's so good.
And we find out the reason
He's like,
Homer
get used
isn't.
to it because I'm moving in.
Yeah, because of his old folks' home is no longer there.
Mm-hmm.
So we find Homer is not at the breakfast table, but he's driving to the office, and thought bubbles of Mr. Burns keep popping up, and he's starting to get that same animated thing where he had for the Shinning episode.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so he's starting to get a little crazy here.
Oh yeah,
and we have like thought bubble of Mr. Burns. You know, just saying, who is this
Lummox, pudding head, mooncalf, Limpidoodle.
Yes.
He's like, stop it, stop it, stop it.
And then he crashes through the gate. And I love how the old security guard doesn't even like really flinch. And he's like, just a minute. And then he pushes the button anyway.
Doesn't flinch an inch. And it's just like a little stub rises.
It's
great animation.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Smithers, who is that ignoramus? Smithers, who is that lollygagger? Who is that blubberpot? Who is that bafflewit? Lummox, puddinghead, mooncalf, limp noodle, drizzlepuss, fumbleface.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
Look out!
What?
I also like how Homer's basically his whole idea is to spray paint his name on the walls of Burns's office, and Burns catches him like just as he's about to finish the end.
He's like, "Who the devil are you?"
And this throws to Homer.
That's the last straw.
Yep. And then he begins violently shaking Burns, saying, "My name is Homer Simpson."
Homer Simpson.
Yeah. And then Burns is like, "Who are you? I don't know."
He's like, "Big sense man. I can't understand a word."
Yeah, so he gets kicked out by security, and as he's being dragged away, he basically says, "Burns, you're a dead man.
You're a dead man. Oh, you're dead. You're dead." It's very dramatic. Hello, Vengeance Hotline. How may I help you? Okay. You don't say. The whole sun? Diabolical. No, that's too far. That's not far enough. Definitely not like that. No, ma'am. We only specialize in non-violent vengeance. Non-violent vengeance. Oh, maybe, reach out to your local congressman. You're welcome. So long and good luck.
Absolutely. So back home, we got Grandpa is unpacking.
Suspect.
Correct. We got Grandpa at home, and he's basically like he sees the dog walking across the carpet. And he's like, "The lamb's getting away."
The lamb's getting away. We had a Grandpa's on the last episode too.
Yeah.
I love these little lines. They're some of my favorites.
So funny.
It's like then the dog leaves, and he's like, "Goodbye, lamb."
And Bart is like, "No, that's my dog, man." And Grandpa's like, "Okay, whatever. Help me unpack."
It's a sad-looking scene. The dog. He's just so pitiful.
Yeah, and we find out that Grandpa has a gun with him, a Smith & Wesson.
Jinkies.
And Bart is like, he's like, "Oh, that's cool," and he immediately picks it up. And Marge comes in and is not having any of this at all. And it's like, nope.
Like, if you gotta play with it, be careful because it's loaded.
Yeah, and then I like how Grandpa is like, "How are you going to have a house without a gun? What if a bear came through the window?" Yeah.
And Marge goes to bury it in the backyard.
And
She
then
says,
Grandpa chastises Bart. You should have fired into the air. She would have ran off.
"It's such a funny line."
All right, so much like the current Democratic Party, Mayor Quimby is trying to address an angry crowd and is not being effective because he's going to say basically a sternly worded letter to Mr. Burns.
He's like sternly worded, and his subordinates will get it, and maybe they'll give it to him, or at least like explain it to him.
Which is just
the
wild.
waffliest politician trick of all time.
And then it's like when they say like, "Hey, tell you what, we're going to form a committee. We're going to look into this, and we'll get back to you."
Absolutely.
Yeah, they never get back to you.
We're working against the policies.
So Quimby's a security guy comes up and he's like, "Sir, a lot of people are stroking their guns." And then Quimby,
the whole audience, they've been doing clips of them like polishing shotguns and cleaning knives and things. It's great.
Yeah, because it's really important because those are all clues. So Skinner has a gun with a silencer, Mo has the shotgun, Barney has a Dillinger. We find out later that Sideshow Mel has a knife. And remember, S&W is the clue there. So maybe someone with a Smith and Wesson.
Sideshow William.
There you go. So I love how Quimby is like, "It has been brought to my attention that a lot of you are stroking guns, so now I will open up the floor."
He's just like, I seed.
So we get basically, this is setting up more of the suspects, right? So we have Smithers, now a lush, and watches Comedy Central all day. And this is back when Comedy Central was like very young and had kind of shitty programming. And this is before South Park. This is before The Daily Show. This is before, you know what I mean?
No, this is when it was all like repeat of like shows they had taped in like dimly lit like Comedy Cellars. Like it was,
right.
It
Yeah,
was all
improv,
like
night at the improv type of
great.
thing.
Yeah.
And so Smithers, and this is another important clue, he says he never misses Pardon My Zinger, which comes on at 3 p.m.
Very important.
We got more grievances. Willie also lost his job, so he's pissed. Grandpa lost his home and his friends' sunbathing magazines. And I love how the other old guy, like the Jewish
bastard.
He has like that old like New York Jewish thing going, "You bastard," you know, like so
one
good.
of the YouTubers I watch says that's his actual name is Old Jewish Guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You bastard.
Barney and Mo both lost Mo's bar. We got Lisa's
in there. They run the School of Music.
Yep, funding and Tito. So that covers Lisa, Skinner, and Tito Fuente. And then
I love having Tito Fuente in this. It's just such a good like just nugget that just
random guest star that just sort of fits. Yeah, then we get that cool song in the next episode. So yeah, and then Bart goes, "Look what he did to my best friend, a hard cut to Milhouse who's pigging out on Cheetos." Like nobody's watching.
So wrong. He looks awful.
He looks so.
It's like that one. It's the dog.
There's cheetah puff bits all over his face. Like his cheeks are kind of swollen because he's like just shoving them in his mouth, and like he has a big ass gut. You know, it's hilarious. He's like, "No, the dog."
So wrong. And the dog looks so pitiful, like squeaking into the auditorium.
And then we hear Mr. Burns going, "Squeaky wheel. I could sell you some oil for that."
It's so evil.
And Bart charges. He's like, "Oh, screw this. I'm going for it." And then Burns reveals that he's packing heat.
So he pulls a gun on a kid, basically. Yeah. Like he didn't pull it out, but he shows it to him. He's like threatening the kid. Like,
and we get various people kind of like talk, right? So we have like Sideshow Mel gives a very elegant, like, "We'll send him to the deepest forms of hell," or something like that with this Shakespearean acting.
One real quick thing, Josh, about the gun. He says, "I decided to protect myself ever since I was attacked in my office by an unidentified assailant," which was, of course, Homer Simpson. And Homer goes, "No!" It's just such a good little kickoff.
Yeah, good call. Absolutely. It was pretty funny. So basically, Burns calls them on their bluff. He's like, "Come at me, bro.
Yeah.
What you got?
Yeah.
What you got? Any of you got the balls for this?" And then they do a great like 180 pan of the entire crowd, and everybody's looking away from Mr. Burns except for one
cowing to
one person is staring dead-eyed. Maggie Simpson.
Fucking Simpson. And it is so well animated. All of the people that I listened to leading up to this love her so much.
Yes.
As a character, and she's iconic.
Yeah, I mean Maggie is great. Like I love how we did like nerdy talks back in the day. Like if Stewie Griffin and Maggie Simpson got into a fight, who would win?
Oh, I
And
mean, that's
I came to
good.
the conclusion that Maggie is a pretty good crack shot. So unless Stewie can close the distance, I don't
Yeah.
think he has a chance because
Yep.
she could just snipe him from like
Yeah.
a daycare center somewhere. I don't
That's
know.
it.
But anyway, back to the actual story. So Burns is going to start to do his ultimate villain plan. And he goes, "Have you ever seen the sun set at 3 p.m.?"
I love the sea captain cuts, and he's
Yeah.
like, once when I was sailing around the Arctic.
Shut up, you.
Burns is like, shut up, you. We get a good Burnsy there. Take one last look at the sun, Springfield.
Darkness.
Hello. Have you embraced the darkness?
So dark.
A people bathed in the exquisite perpetual light of dusk. A world built together where I finally control all of you.
All of us.
You're welcome, Springfield. Mwahahaha. Mwahahaha.
I also love how like basically they're all kind of leaving at that point, right? And they're like, and Lunch Lady Dorsey's like, perpetual darkness, great, just very sarcastic.
Love it.
Apu is asking like, where's that gun-toting villain? When you need him, and you see Snake there with a
is like,
revolver. He's like, sorry, I was in the John.
I was in the can.
Yeah.
I love, but we also get Krusty bursting back on the scene
randomly.
Like, he's like, hey. What does he say? He's been
I've been in Reno for 6 weeks.
Reno.
What have I missed?
Everyone's just looking.
He's like holding the suitcases too. You know what I mean? Which is why, like, all right, I already know the answer, and I've researched all the clues, so it all falls together now in my brain. But like for that betting board, Krusty was pretty high on the list. I'm like, he just got back from Reno. Why would he be the one shooting Burns? That doesn't really make sense. But anyway, so Burns is on top of the world. He's basically doing like singing in the rain, like stuff. He's like, oh, look at you, little lamppost, and making all my money, and I'm so happy. And we get a series now to set up the mystery of
right. Exactly.
That's odd.
So he's frolicking in like the courtyard park in front of the building. That's him out there in the world Burns. And then we cut back inside, and Lenny and Carl are like, that's interesting. And because everybody's looking for clues.
Yeah, they all say that's odd. So it's like, that's odd. Smithers left his jacket. That's odd. Skinner left his mother behind.
It's so good. Carl's like, Skinner left his mother behind, and he cuts to his mom in the seat. She looks so forlorn.
Also, the music is giving you hints that there's something afoot. It's more menacing. It's lower in tone.
They really set the tone very well.
Yeah, and then Marge puts Maggie into the car while she's holding a green lollipop. And she's like, that's odd.
Like it's, the wind blowing through the parking lot, and it's just her and the kids at dusk, and putting it, it's like very, very well shot.
And she goes, where's
the Flying Hellfish episode?
Very much so. When they're in the cemetery at the end there.
Yep.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think David Silverman really went in overtime on this one to just like put in the extra effort to make it all the more better. So Marge makes these like, well, that's odd. Where's Grandpa? Where's Homer? Bart and Lisa are missing. We get a cut to the Simpsons house, and we see Grandpa's gun box has been unburied, and it makes it clear that it is a Smith & Wesson. Burns feels like celebrating, and at this point, we only see shadows and hear audio at that point. We hear a struggle, basically using, what's that? Drop it. No, and then you hear a struggle and a gunshot. Burns stumbles by Jimbo and Marge.
Get your hands off.
Oh, it's you. What are you so happy about? I see. Well, I think you'd better drop it. I said drop it. Get your hands off.
Where is everybody?
And collapse on the sundial and points to S and W. His gun is no longer in its holster.
As soon as he flops on the sundial, the bells toll 3. It's
There you go.
it's awesome.
Jinkies.
Wiggum, he's like, that's not Mr. Burns. That's a mask. And he like starts
Everybody's like
fiddling with
crowded
his
around
face.
him now.
And he's just like, oh, his wrinkles made it. I'm
I
sorry.
know that is Mr. Burns. It's great.
Back to your favorite line. I'm not good at my job.
I'm not good. Even I know that, Daddy.
So Marge goes, everybody's in town as a suspect, and the camera pans around everyone as they're kind of looking awkwardly at each other. It stops at Herbert, and he looks deadpan in the camera. Well, I couldn't possibly solve this mystery. Can you? And then it cuts to Wiggum.
It's like clearly breaking the fourth wall.
Correct.
To the viewer.
Yeah, like it's challenging the viewer to solve it. Absolutely.
His camera up a little bit, and you see Wiggum.
I guess. I mean,
I'll give it a shot.
It's my job, right? You know.
I mean, that's my job, so yeah, I'll give it a shot. It's a phenomenal. That's the end of the episode,
and that's the end of the episode.
Phenomenal, Wiggum. We get a little Wiggum right at the end there. It's a treat.
Yeah. And that's it, folks. Like, you're going to have to wait until the season premiere for us to go through the second part. Robin, do you hear that sound?
What's that, Josh?
Well, it's the
crusty French seal of approval.
All right. Well, Robin, why don't you go first?
Sure. I mean, this is an iconic episode, 100%. It is more than that, though. This was an experience at the time, and going back through it and watching all of the stuff around it about the show and the cross references. They got like Dennis Franz going in during the America's Most Wanted. They got like Chris Elliott, who was on Fox at the time doing his show. And it was a proper sensation. And going back through it reminded me of that time in the 90s. I was 18. I was having a blast. And it was such a joy to go back through.
Right on, man. Well, that was great. So my final thoughts. Who Shot Mr. Burns Part 1 is fabulous. It's a joke-packed episode, and there are a ton of characters throughout. Burns going full cartoon supervillain is just amazing. Mm-hmm. You know, the comics and movies and shows is only as good as your villain, right? And Mr. Burns is top-notch in this episode. The Skinner and Chalmers scenes are amazing. The bar scene with the hazmat crew and Barney and Mo, fabulous. Lisa and Tito are great together. Homer's growing insanity is always fun.
They are great together. Lisa,
they're very
and Tito.
Good. The two-part might be a gimmick, but it sure worked on me. And the competition, like you were saying, it is actually like an event. You know what I mean? Like it was. The only thing I could think of as another Simpsons event like this, with all the marketing and whatever, was the movie that came out years later.
Yeah, I agreed.
So I didn't hear your score on your lovely final thoughts. So what are you giving this one?
So, I vacillate. I'm going to give it a 4.
Ooh.
I'm going to give it a 4 because it's not that funny of an episode. A lot more of it is around kind of the mood and the tone and building it up. But they have to slot a lot of things into this first episode, like where everybody was and what everybody was doing and all of that stuff. And that's a really hard score for me to give it because it's so iconic.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. I thought we were going to be both 5s on this one because that's what I'm giving it. But that's okay.
I think I'm just trying to be controversial, Josh.
There you go. Yeah. We need it. That'll help. We'll get 16 views instead of 14.
Yeah, we're gonna make it edgy. We're gonna be edgy, Josh.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. Overall, and it is one of those things where like they set up everything in part 1.
Yeah.
With all the suspects, right? And then in part 2, we're going to see them basically saying, okay, well, this suspect's off the list. This suspect's off the list. This suspect's off the list. So it's like, this is all the setup. And then the next one is the takedown. And they do jam a lot into there. And that's why they knew they were going to have to do 2 parts. There's no way they're going to do this in one.
I won't say anything other than it really does pay off.
Yeah. It's great.
The payoff is fantastic.
And I do recommend people going through with the clues in mind, because it's really kind of fun to see it after. You're like, oh, well, that's where the hint is, and that's where the hint is. Because to be honest, like my 13-year-old brain had no idea who did it.
Oh, people got into it.
I thought it was going to be
really
Homer
nerded out over
Smithers. You know, that's who I thought it was going to be.
This is right when, you know, chat boards on the internet were getting to be big, and people were like really, really invested in this. It was fascinating to see all of the thought. And one of the fun things I did was listen to people kind of talk about some of the real deep parts of this. And it was so much fun to see how much thought and effort they put into it.
I mean, that Simpsons,
did the work, you know?
the website that they did, Springfield.com, had 500,000, visitors that summer. That's a lot. Also, somebody on the chat board did get the mystery right, and they guessed it right to being Maggie. But
it was like within a day. It was like that day.
Correct. But it was early times of the internet, and it was an old college email with an alias as the username. So they were never able to track down the person because they wanted to give them a prize, even if it wasn't the 1-800 collect.
Maybe they're listening, Josh.
Who knows? Because Bill Oakley even said on the Round Springfield interview that I listened to that if you ever ran into and they were able to prove that was them, they would he would do something. I don't know, give them the autograph or some kind of prize, because the writers really wanted to reward it because they were the only one person got it that they were aware of. What was
the college they mentioned?
I don't remember. I didn't have that down. But anyway, well, this has been a lot of fun. And we're going to say that's a wrap for the season finale of Robin and Snurts with Sacrilicious with Robin and Snurts. We hope you enjoyed this season. If you're feeling generous, then please leave a 5-star review with a few sentences. And we are currently on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcast. I am dedicating this season finale to my late father. John would have been 70 the day this dropped. So, Dad, love you, miss you. And this one's for you.
Hey, sorry to miss you. Hope you had a great day. Love you.
I also want to thank all of our listeners. We're averaging like 14 to 20 an episode, and you guys are the fighting 20, and we love you. And of course, Dr. Roxford, the raddest fan of them all.
The Doctor.
Do you want to hear more from your old pal Snurts? Then check out the PlayStation Experience on your podcast platform of choice. I can also be found on most of the things at Lord_Snurts. Robin, what are your outros?
Hey, congratulations, Josh. I appreciate you so much, my friend. This has been a lot of fun. I am psyched that we're marking this point in the show, and we're already chomping at the bit to get into the next episode.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Also, it's kind of nice because a lot of the research that was going into this episode actually applies to the next one. So that's very helpful as far because I've already done some of the homework, right? Mm-hmm. All right, our goal is to get the next episode, which will be the first episode of season 2 on April 6th. You guys already know what we're doing. We're doing Who Shot Mr. Burns Part 2 from season 7. So until next time, folks, smell you later, true believers.
I can't believe that. Replace goodbye. I hate that ending.
You want to do it again?
No.
No.
Smells like one of Van Houten.
Oh, mercy.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.